This is Jeff Cochell. We got my open heart confession with Alyssa McQueen and Maxine Matlin do, Millie Morgan do, they Mickey Mouse Disco do, the Muse for Millie Morgan. No, I have memory confabulation, arbitrary memory confabulation with wait, I sort of do remember Millie Morgan do, the Ducks do, I remember Steely Dan do. There's a curious laugh, distinct, formal, mirthless. The laugh was repeated in the slow syllable, like tone, and terminated in an odd murmur. The laugh was as tragic, as preternatural as laugh as any I have ever heard, but that it was high noon, and that no circumstance of ghost lines accompanied the curious cachinnation. I should have been superstitiously afraid. It's Andronicus, the Roman general, the quoted Shakespearean tragedy, laughed upon the return of his own severed hand and the heads of his two sons, whose lives his hand was supposed to ransom. Such inappropriate laughter is not solely the product of the playwright's fancy. People in tragic circumstances have laughed themselves to this, and sometimes perfectly normal laughter occurs in completely unsuitable social contexts, such as funerals, to the horror of laughter. In certain rare cases, bursts of laughter may occur independently of social context, appropriate or otherwise, that was driven by the electrical storms of the epileptic brain. And the structure of laughter itself can be abnormal, as with curious, preternatural laughter, later demonic, low, suppressed, that unnerved heroine Jane Eyre in the quote from Charlotte Bronte. And what properties of laughter were reported in the earlier speech categories. Laughing Dust is the headline of a Time magazine November story announcing the discovery of Cour, a degenerative disease of the central nervous system among the isolated 4 people of the New Guinea highlands. Of special interest to us here is the hilarity that accompanies the early stages of the always fatal disease. But the Cour saga is also full of sorcery, cannibalism, ritual killing, the exotica of anthropologists' dreams. Added this potent brew some breakthrough medical science that eventually wins the Nobel Prize for physician, anthropologist, and you have material element in the New England Journal of Medicine as in the National Choir. Kuru principally affects adult females and was leading cause of death among the 4 during the late 50s and early 60s. You can. The Kuru, dude. And I got the Halo, dude. I'm technically halfway done, dude. The Mickey Mouse, disco, dude. Oh, much, Snoop Dogg. Yeah, kid. Take them apples. Were pulverized with stone and his trachea was crushed by biting. The Kuru regains momentum because of the enigmatic virus. Like infection agency, it gains a self-replicating proton called a prion is transmitted by the ritual cannibalism of dead relatives. Women on the principal Kuru victims were most involved in the preparations of the bodies for cooking and consumed the brain, the most infectious human flesh. The very long and confused I'm reading it, dude. Kuru shivers or trembles in the foreign native language, purposely affects adult females and was leading cause of death among the 4 during the late 50s and 60s. But Kuru is a doubly deadly disease because the natives believe Kuru is caused by sorcery. Relatives of the immediate victim often perform ritual vendetta to Kaba of the suspected male sorcerer presumed to have worked his deadly magic. The sorcerer's limb, muscles, kidney, reason, and general organs were pulverized with stone, and his trachea was crushed by biting. The Kuru story gains momentum because the enigmatic virus-like infection agency, a self-replicating protein called a prion, is transmitted by the ritual cannibalism of dead relatives. There we go. Women, the principal Kuru victims, were most involved in the preparation of the bodies for cooking and consumed by the brain, the most infectious human flesh. The very long 4 to 6 26 incubation period of the infectious slow virus Kuru prevented the near Stone Age villagers from cannibalism with the disease, and likewise complicated scientific study. For several years, the sorcery hypothesis fared about as well as those of geneticists, toxologists, nutritionists, and virologists. Kura is nearing extinction as the cannibalism that sustained it and its last victims are disappearing. But threats from Kura, like transmissible spongiform encephalopathies, have not been eradicated. Similar infectious agents are responsible for the rare but always fatal Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans, stray-blind sheep and bovine spongiform encephalopathy, mad cow disease. As Richard Rhodes reminds us in his Deadly Feast, there are many good reasons not to fear our end or perhaps even the dead of the other animals. Even ordering your meal well done does not protect you from the remarkably heat-resistant mad cow virus. During the early stages of Kuru, victims often show marked emotionalism with inappropriate excessive laughter or paroxysmal hilarity, often laughing at their own stummy guilt and falls, with their kinship joining in. The sketchy clinical reports of Kuru laughter suggest that it is felt associated with euphoria, normal in structure and social context, and is socially effective as measured by its contagiousness, but it is more frequent and robust than normal, and may occur in cognitively inappropriate situations. The laughter is not a vocal tic associated with a seizure state, with Stuart Ransom do. As Cooper progresses, anal do, increasingly strong timbers and uncontrollable voluntary and involuntary movements render the victim immobile, incontinent, unable to sit, eat, and communicate. Although the intellect and consciousness are relatively unimpaired near the end, he's actually smart. This misplayed euphoria of early stages may provide a comfort in meeting this grim and certain fate. The relentlessly progressive disease usually kills victims within a year of onset. The term sardonic laughter, referring to the bitter, mocking laughter of derision, it has a dark, rich etymology. The ancients who coined the term were referring to the humorless laughter and smiling produced by a deadly plant native to Sardinia, probably the herb known variously as marsh. The toxic effect of the plant was well known in ancient times because the derivative expression had wide early use, as in the Odyssey when Odysseus smiled in anger, a very sardonic smile. Right in the 2nd century AD, Pausanias noted of Sardana, the whole island is free of lethal drugs, except one weed, the deadly herb like celery. But they say if you eat it, you die of laughing. I have one more to do. Something very unhealthy is the sardonic laugh. Although the details of this mysterious urban effect are lost in the fog of history, the term sardonic really means the laughter of sardism, but is now usually referred to as only smiling, surviving in modern medicine as a key symptom of tetanitis and sterile poisoning. I suspect that the herb only grimmered smiling, as in the audience with laughter, as was present as a result of rhythmic gasping during seizures. Both deadly tinnitus produced by bacterium produce runaway excited in the nervous system by blocking neural inhibition. The result is a frozen green mask of the sardonic smile, the default condition of the all-out contraction of the muscles of the face and jaw. Other muscles are also involved. In extreme cases of tonic muscular seizures, the victim will have their backs arched in the inverted U shape. The atmosphere of all possible heaven must be composed of the gas, enthused Robert Southey, a view shared by fellow poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who spelled it as spell reported more unmingled pleasures than I'd ever experienced. The gas of an enraptured them is nitrous oxide, the dental anesthetic and aesthetic known as popular as laughing gas. Nitrous oxide was discovered in 1772 by Joseph Priestley, who had discovered oxygen the previous year. In 1799, another patriarch of chemistry, Humphrey Day, as a young man recklessly inhaled the gas, experienced the most agreeable sense of well-being, relaxation, and giddiness. The response that earned nitrous oxide his popular name. In the entertainment-starved United States of the early and mid-1800s, people enjoyed getting high and watching others do so, like Millie Morgan. Many university students of chemistry and medicine held laughing gas parties and other frolics, an unpuzzled perk of high education in the sciences. I remember itinerant, self-proclaimed professors, philosophers, and practical chemists roamed the towns and crossroads of America giving lectures on chemistry and demonstrating the glories of nitrous oxide or ether. I remember that was Mickey Mouse Disco. Under the influence of the gas, the intoxicated volunteers would laugh uncontrollably, stagger about, and talk foolishly to the amusement of friends and onlookers. The popularity of these laughing gas shows is reflected in ads in a defunct local newspaper. The Baltimore American and Commercial Advertiser, 7 ads for laughing gas or exhilaration gas shows were found in the newspaper between 1820 and 1830. Many less formal sidewalk demonstrations were not advertised. Among the laughing gas showmen operating out of Baltimore in the 1830s was young Samuel Cochell, who later gained fame as inventor of the revolver. By Barnum, the quintessential American showman and promoter,